Hey, what's going on there, folks? Welcome back here to the weekend. It is the Earthmaster here on this end of the microphone. Saturday, February 3rd, 2024. It's about 11:50 a.m. California time. Latest activity looks like some movement up into the Alaska area, 1.4 showing up there on the globe. We did see quite a bit of aftershock activity last night in the state of Oklahoma following a decent-sized earthquake out here last night. Shaking things up outside the OKC area. This earthquake was felt broadly all over the place here, even up into areas around Missouri, Arkansas, and down into the Dallas area. We'll take a look at those reports here in a minute. But covering the activity, well, it all started off last night with a bang, so to speak there. It was about 9:30 my time here, so it was just about 11:30 over there in the Oklahoma area, right about the time maybe people were sleeping. Quite a few folks were jolted out of bed from this 5.1 that struck relatively shallow, about 3 kilometers or so below the surface. That was followed up a few minutes later by a 2.6. And as you can see here, we did see some 2s and 3s overnight, totaling out to about 38 earthquakes in total, including the main shake here. Outside the OKC area, the last one shows a 1.5. A couple hours or so ago. So it looks like things may be tapering off for now in this area. But that 5.1, decent sized quake out here. And we'll take a look at historical data here in just a minute. I want to show you guys the did you feel it responses out here. Look how far this 5.1 was reported. All the way down, almost down into, what do we got down here? Abilene, Dallas-Fort Worth area definitely felt that earthquake. Some light shaking, but for the majority that were underneath this area, and there's a decent population underneath the epicenter area, reported some strong shaking out there, and what may have sounded like some thunder following the earthquake. And that's kind of common in certain fault systems. We'll hear either like a train noise before or following that earthquake, and in this case, a lot of folks reporting a kind of like a thundering noise following this earthquake here. But I appreciate all the reports, and as you can see way up here, even in the portions of Nebraska around Lincoln, I felt that earthquake. The question is are we going to see anything stronger out here? I've been getting a lot of questions asking that, and what is causing it? Is it the oil fields? Is it fracking? Is it salt water injection? Well, let's take a look at the history here of earthquake activity. Let me see where I brought it up. I know I have it here somewhere. This is historical earthquake activity, 4.5 and above for the state of Oklahoma. And I pulled up pretty much as far back as the records will go from the USGS. Now, the largest one out here is going to be a 5.8 northeast of Stillwater here back in 2016. A lot of people remember that. This 5.7 that struck back in 2011 is directly within that same location that we seen last night's earthquake in there, the 5.1. So that's been over 10 years or so since that earthquake struck back in 2011. We also seen a couple other 4s back then in that year as well. There was a lot of discussion and law changing going on regarding the the whole process of oil pumping operations and wastewater disposal ponds, saltwater injection operations and whatnot. And a lot of earthquake activity really ramped up during the oil boom out here, and then it went down following some changes there in the law. But obviously the activity has stirred up some ancient fault systems out here. There's a fault out here where this earthquake activity occurred last night. It's called the, let's see where I put it at. There's a whole bunch of articles out here in terms of the earthquake activity, historical and ancient fault systems out here. This was put out back in 2011, and it did chat about they had it right here as a 5.6, but I believe that was a 5.7. Roughly within that same location of today's or last night's earthquake. It's called the Wilzetta Fault. Is part of a belt of ancient buried thrust faults that run through central Oklahoma and north into Kansas. This thrust belt was first active in the Carboniferous, right? Good word there to start off the video. Period, 350 to 300 million years ago. So there's a whole lot of old fault systems buried throughout the North American plate, and it looks as though this fault system may have been reactivated here recently. And there's a lot more. I don't want to go over a whole bunch of articles here, but there's a lot of these PDF documents here that discuss the saltwater injection process there around that fault system specifically. And if we go down here and look at this little highlight area I have, let's see where it went to. Well, it did go somewhere. Either way, yeah, I lost it here. It looks like it disappeared. There's definitely, some linkage there to the injection of saltwater activity into the areas below that activate these fault systems and produce induced seismicity. A lot of pressure, being applied way down there in fracking operations. Yeah, I don't want to read all of that right now. I will leave a article if you guys want to, if you got a little bit of time on your hands here today to read this article. It's worth reading. I didn't quite get through all of it, but it does explain the process in terms of how fault systems can get activated through the process of injection wells. And subsequently here, I pulled up an image where one of these earthquakes here took place. Let me go back here to the satellite view. Now these are last night's earthquakes, and it was this one right here. See this area right here? I pulled that up on the Google Earth map here, and look at that. We have, some type of oil storage facility. I don't know if this is in operation still or if this is an older one. A lot of older pumping operations out here have been erased off the map, so to speak, and replaced with either vegetation or community housing developments out here. These look like a lot of small houses out here, but there is quite a bit of oil pumping operations out here, fracking operations in this area, and along with old ancient fault systems out here. So a lot of that stuff activates these ancient faults and can get them going again. But I don't think we're going to see anything bigger than a 5.7 is kind of what took place out here back in 2011. I don't even think we're going to see that large of an earthquake following this 5.1. It doesn't make sense, right, to see a 5.7 10 years later again in the same area. But there's definitely some strain out here. The North American plate, obviously underneath continuous strain, and when you inject areas below the surface with whether it's wastewater, salt water, any type of fluids there to create the fracking operations, it can stir up earthquakes. It can induce earthquakes. It can activate old fault systems here. So these articles tend to lean on the relationship there between the two and the old ancient fault systems below here, far as the injection of salt water here, saltwater disposal. This article was put out let's see here. I don't even see a date here, but it was after that 5.7 back in 2011. So a lot of information. I don't want to go over all of it because there's way too much to discuss today outside this area as well. But I appreciate all the comments coming in. Let me know where you're at, what it felt like, and whatnot. But as far as seeing anything larger goes, I think everyone can relax that we're not going to see anything larger in this area. And Oklahoma obviously is riddled with fault systems out here. They're really not showing it on the map. They got one fault over here called the Mears Fault around the Wichita Mountains. But anywhere where you got some older hills, And even, in this area outside the OKC area, there's some ancient thrust faults underneath this region. And I don't think we're going to see anything larger than the activity we've seen recently here. Now, over here to the east, obviously a much different picture. The New Madrid seismic zone, very capable of producing some upper 7 magnitude earthquakes, which is way, way, way stronger than the Oklahoma activity. By the way, I want to show you guys what it looks like there on the Yellowstone overview, what that 5-pointer showed up as last night. Look at this. Look at that. That's way up in Yellowstone, Wyoming area. And that showed up all across the area of the, well, at least the seismograph stations that are working properly. You can kind of see which ones are and which ones aren't. These are just, I don't know, they're tuned incorrectly. They're not even picking up anything local. Which actually, by the way, we do have a little bit of local seismic activity there across the Yellowstone area. That's going to be these small little quakes here. And a little bit up here around this station, which is the Maple Creek area. Some of that activity showing up here on these distant stations in Mary Lake, West Boundary. So it looks like maybe a little bit of earthquake activity up there at Yellowstone. Some over here as well. So we got a mixed bag of earthquakes around the region. But still, we'll continue to watch that. Aftershock activity should be expected. We got 38 earthquakes so far in this sequence here, and they should calm down. The USGS put out a little earthquake forecast, just in case we got to cover everything here, right? They're stating here for the aftershock forecast that there is a 39% chance of an M3 plus, and we already seen 2 of those, right? We've already seen 2 of those. Let me bring up this little list here. Largest magnitude. Well, we've seen 3 of those. So that blew the percentages way out of the water there. For an M4.0, a 9% chance. I don't think we're going to see another up to a 4-pointer. But you never know. It does decrease with time. So say nothing happens today. Maybe we get a couple smaller quakes. That possibility of seeing something larger in aftershock terms dissipates. All right, so what else we got here? Texas still rumbling out here, but this is very typical out here in this area of Texas. And I'm not for sure why this region is more active in terms of other oil fields out here throughout the region. Maybe in the proximity here to the mountain range could have something to do with it. This area is just loaded out here with oil pumping operations, wastewater disposal ponds. These are little ponds out here in the desert of Texas. They're all over the place. And this region here, went quiet for a couple days here recently. I'm not for sure what happened. But normally, earthquake activity looks like about like this out here in any 30 given day period, which is close to 500 earthquakes outside of Pecos, Texas. And the majority of these are out here situated right next to oil fields and wastewater disposal ponds. So, and some of these other areas inside of, deeper into Texas are getting hit as well. There's kind of a linear fashion here. It looks like that's kind of pointing up towards the Oklahoma area. And, of course, you got the New Madrid seismic zone over here. This is the one I'm a little bit more worried about. Could be adding some further strain out here against this fault system. It's been over 200 years since the New Madrid large earthquakes took place. So a little bit of strain has been built up out here. Occasionally we'll see some 2s out here, 1s, even maybe a 3-pointer out around the New Madrid seismic zone. And you can see it right there on the hazard map. That's just letting us know here that the fault system is very much alive and very capable of producing a big earthquake out here one of these days in that zone. Again, Oklahoma is really not set up for any major earthquakes in terms of fault systems. Obviously some older ancient faults down there, but I don't think they're built up enough to create some large earthquake activity. But a 5-pointer, right? That's decent enough to shake things up out there. So still active out in Texas. Yellowstone National Park, seeing a handful of earthquakes out here as well. The Pacific Northwest, not a whole lot going on out here. One little earthquake across Mount St. Helens. Looks like a little 0.6 there from yesterday. California, yesterday we did have a little bit of activity out here near the San Francisco Zoo. Well, west-southwest of the San Francisco Zoo. Had a 3.2 yesterday. And the majority of these here from yesterday, we did have another one down here outside of Hayward, a little 1.2. But things have kind of gone quiet out here today. Not a whole lot of movement up and down the area of the West Coast. We are waiting for our next major storm. We'll get to the weather here at the end of this update video. Hawaii. Now, this is kind of interesting here, folks. Let me go over here to the... I think I accidentally closed it down, but let me go back here and read you guys the latest update. I'm kind of surprised. By the way, they've dropped the Kilauea volcano alert level. The USGS has dropped this from an orange to a yellow with all this earthquake activity. Kind of interesting, isn't it? Even this newer activity stretching offshore. So let's read their latest update, which was put out today. Right? Hopefully. Hold on a second here. Issued February 3rd, 8 a.m. Hawaii time. All right, here we go. So earthquake and ground deformation rates extending from Kilauea Summit southwest along the fault system have decreased significantly over the past 24 hours. So the summit has gone down, but other areas have gone up. The intrusion of magma into this area appears to have slowed, and the likelihood of an eruption has decreased. So they're lowering that from watched back down to advisory, and the aviation color code from orange to yellow. In total, more than 3,000 earthquakes were recorded over the past week during this event, which coincided with ground deformation patterns indicative of magma moving from beneath the summit to the southwest under the fault system here. So these guys are thinking that, let's see, should volcanic activity change significantly, a new volcanic activity notice will be issued. These guys are thinking that it's over, that this is done, that all this magma moving around below the surface really has no purpose, and we're just going to lower everything down. Why is that? That's a little weird, right in the area, right in the middle of all this earthquake activity, and odd, patterns of magma down here. Even these little earthquakes off of the fault system, way to the south, kind of stretching out here off the coast, a little odd. Let's take a look at some of the data and see what maybe they're seeing. See what they're looking at. I want to check out one seismograph station here and see if things have calmed down like they've stated. Is there one buried underneath here? I think there is. Seismic station right here. All right, so everything is calmed down. Well, I don't really have to point out here that things have not calmed down out here. Look at all this earthquake activity up until right now, right? 20 UTC time, I believe that's the correct date. There's some earthquake activity occurring on the Hot Caves Hawaii station, by the way. That there is in the area where the earthquake swarming is taking place. Current time, 20:08, so that is up to par in terms of the correct time. I tell you what, it has not calmed down considerably out here. There's still a lot of earthquake activity occurring. I'm not for sure why these guys are lowering the threat level out here. It's a little odd. And that's just one seismograph station there in the middle of all this. Down here, still quite a bit of earthquake activity. They said it's calmed down a lot in the last 24 hours. Past 12 hours. Look at this. You tell me, folks, what is going on here? Why are they kind of calming some nerves out here? Is there something going on that maybe they don't want folks to find out about? Look at this tilt meter activity. Let's check this out today. Deformation data. Are we working? We're working. Okay, so a couple days ago, right, probably about the 31st here, we were at our highest level of inflation there across the summit region, right, in terms of buildup, pressurization. All of a sudden, we started getting this earthquake swarm. The inflation here dropped like a huge rock. This is a huge downward trend. That's the past 2 days. Let's go to the last 30 days. This is more of a dramatic view here, as you can see, because this covers the past 30 days, and we've been watching this little deflation followed up by higher inflation, and then boom, all that inflation just goes away in the blink of an eye. That's because the magma down below has found its way from the summit region, close to the summit region, where the pressure builds up, and found its way off to the southwest rift zone. And we see this in the tilt meters across the southwest rift zone. This is the summit region. All that magma that had been building up there found a kind of a weaker area below, maybe a tunnel. I don't know exactly the area, but it's towards the southwest rift zone. All that magma disappeared from the summit and is now sitting out here across this area. If we look at some of these tilt meters, let's get rid of some of these: camera, GPS, gas, infrasound. There we go. I really wish there was a little bit more tilt meters out here. See if this one's working. This one's working as well. This took a huge spike here. About that time, the magma had moved from the summit region over to the southwest rift zone. But now that has gone down as well. But if you notice, this tilt meter is still fairly close to the summit region. Now, if we had a tilt meter out here, I guarantee you that would be elevated and very high in terms of inflation. But I don't see it. I'm not seeing any other inflations areas out here. The closest one looks to be way down here. And this one's kind of hard to tell with that one. But, it would help if we knew what was going on out here. Is this still rising? I think this went up about 20 inches out here. I was reading in one of their most recent, maybe it's been about a day or so ago, they mentioned that it was 20 inches that it had gone up. Let me see if I can find this. I think I had it on my phone. Was it from last night? Let me check here. But I find this all just very strange. They're stating that 40 million cubic yards or 30 million cubic meters in the region to the southwest of the caldera during this event. That's an accumulation of magma. 40 million cubic yards. I don't know where they had mentioned that it had gone up 20 inches, but I remember reading that. I'll have to look and see if I can find that again. But I just kind of find it all strange here. I mean, it's building up out here. Is there not a chance for an eruption out here across the rift zone? Or maybe even further south here? I mean, the indicator here is that this magma is kind of going out further south. These are very shallow earthquakes here. Well, that's actually, some of these are shallow. Some are deep. But there's definitely something going on out here that I find awfully strange. A lot of magma moving around. And they dropped the threat level. We just need more tilt meters out here, I think, so we can see what's going on. Because let's go check up here at Mauna Loa. It's not even going to be associated with Mauna Loa, but I just wanted to look at tilt. A lot of these don't even work. So we'll continue to watch the earthquake activity. I think that's key. But these guys, I think, jumped the gun in terms of lowering the threat level. The earthquake activity is still elevated. Let's check a couple more seismograph stations here and see what we have. Make sure we're still live. We're still live, not getting kicked off. That is good. No, I want this one. There we go. So this is the one that we just looked at. Here's the past 24 hours. Goodness. Has it calmed down slightly? Yes, it has. But has it died off completely? No, it definitely hasn't. Here's this seismograph station. As you can see, past 12 hours. Still fairly active. Let's check out down here. That one's not working, unfortunately. Did we check this one out? Still fairly active there. This one's still very active. So I don't know. I don't see how everything's just, quieted down considerably. It just doesn't make sense. I don't see it. Maybe at the summit region, but does that not mean that there's there's no threat over here across this area? I don't know. I think these guys kind of. I really don't. I mean, I don't like to argue against the USGS, but I think they're calling it a little bit too early. So we'll continue to watch that. There's still earthquake activity, even coming into the live seismograph stations there across Hot Caves, Hawaii, which is roughly, I think it's right around this area here. So, past 6 hours. You want to count all those? I guarantee you there's a couple hundred earthquakes in the last 6 hours. That's a lot. All right, so we'll continue to watch it and monitor it, but yeah, I don't know. I think they jumped the gun just a little bit. I think they're going to pop that back up to a watch again. All right, Puerto Rico, 3.1 out here, northwest area, Puerto Rico. We forgot to check the webcams out here. Let's look at that real quick, see what we got going on across the area. This is kind of out there in the mix of everything. Today's date. Beautiful blue sky out there in Hawaii. Goodness, looks like an absolutely beautiful day. It's one place I've never been yet. Definitely want to visit Hawaii one of these days. Another region here of the... well, this is an older image. Look at that. That's from... I was going to say, how'd these clouds appear there? The summit region. Well, here's kind of a zoomed in shot. That is today's image, current time. This is not lava. See this red area down here? A lot of this is lens flare activity, and you can kind of see the rainbow type coloring here on the lens itself. But I don't see any elevated activity across the summit region. That's because the magma below that's been pressurizing has moved off and away from this area. I still think that there's a probability here of seeing some eruptive activity soon. What do we got now? 12:13. I thought I felt something a minute ago. But yeah, it's a 4.7 coming in right now, just off the Northern California coastline. Goodness, could we be maybe getting ready to see the Cascadia go out here? Yesterday we had a 4.9, roughly well, a little bit further on the plate boundary here. This is back off the plate boundary, inland a little bit along the Gorda plate. Let me see if this has been reviewed or not. It hasn't. It's underneath automatic status. Let's see, no stations contributed yet. Well, at least as far as the details go. 9 kilometers below the surface for 4.7. A little bit of uncertainty though, on terms of magnitude and whatnot. So we'll have to see what a seismologist says about this once they review it. But either way, definitely some elevated activity out here. Got 2 4-pointers in the last, okay, almost 24 hours, but last 36 hours or so out here. And it's a little concerning here. Tremor activity across the Cascadia has been odd. And I say that because we're not looking at the typical intervals of tremor that we normally see every 12 or 18 months or so. In fact, our last major tremor event was back in October of 2022. If we look up here on this chart, right about there, 10/2022, when we had about 583 on one day. Since then, if you really look at it, we've just gone down and quiet compared to past years where we've seen regular intervals of tremor. So something's going on here. Whether it's a sign that the Cascadia is going. Is that another earthquake? Uh-oh, hope I'm not jinxing it here. I've got a 4-pointer coming in deeper into the subduction zone. Uh-oh, let's see here. Do I have my... Of course not. The Petrolia station is offline here. Goodness. Let me see if I can add one of these back here, because that's kind of interesting. Interesting stuff going on here. I think I should be able to use this one. I got it. There it is. There's one of the earthquakes right there in Dinsmore. As Missy Mimi's just let me know, knocking on the computer room here door, letting me know that there's some earthquake activity going on. So I'm going to bring that Chile station down. Let me see which one that is. It looks like there's only one earthquake. Right about 2014, right? That would match the 4.7. So whether this is I don't think these are two earthquakes. I think there's only one. Looking at this seismograph station right here, which is very close to the epicenter of this activity. Well, not out in the ocean, but it's very close to compared to other stations. I'm only seeing one earthquake there across Petrolia, Dinsmore area, which sits right about here, I would say. This may be just one earthquake, but I'm not for sure why this one came in a couple seconds later. Could have triggered the seismograph station. But we'll have to see if this gets revised. Either way, stay on guard out here. That's some interesting activity there. Again, with the Cascadia subduction zone, it's acting weird. And I say that because we haven't really seen any major tremor events. Does that mean things are just locked and loaded and we can't even get any more slow slip events going on? Very possible. So keep an eye on that. Hopefully I didn't jinx that today for us, because today would not be a good day to have it. Well, no day would be a good day to have a 9-pointer out here, or even a partial rupture of the Cascadia. That'd be 8.5 or so. That in itself would do quite a bit of damage. All right, let's see what else we got outside that area. Alaska region. Yeah, not a whole lot going on. Just typical smaller quake activity for now. And really not a whole lot of big-time movement out here across the western Pacific for now. Tonga, 5-pointer, very typical. Vanuatu area, 5-pointer, very typical as well. Not seeing any unusual activity out there in the region. New Zealand, getting a handful of earthquakes down here, it looks like, 3s. There's a fairly deep 4-pointer in the Kermadec Trench. But getting a handful of deep quakes here across the area. Let's see what we got. 39 minutes ago, 2.2, 3.6. That's fairly deep, 42 kilometers here. And that's, these guys have another sleeping giant just offshore called the Hikurangi subduction zone. And that area is very capable of producing a mega quake. So it's been a while. All these major subduction zones have been building up strain for hundreds of years, and we just happen to be living in a time right now where we may witness these possibly go. You just never know. Not like this earthquake, not like big earthquake activity happened yesterday. We've been having quite a bit of strain out here for hundreds of years across various regions, such as the Cascadia back in 1700. San Francisco, 1906, a big one back there. That a lot of time has passed even since then. But Southern California, southern branch of the San Andreas Fault, over 300 years ago. So, yeah, there's a lot of possibilities out here, and those are just a couple to name. Movement out here in China from yesterday. Aside from that, the Atlantic Ocean, let's see what we got on the globe. Looks like a little 2.9 up there in Iceland. Let's go check that out here real quick and see what's going on this fine Saturday. Ooh, goodness. We got a little bit of an uptick here. Past 12 hours, 41 earthquakes. See, we're getting this activity again out here, out in these rift zones, similar to what we've seen prior to eruptive activity up here north of Grindavik. So we got to watch that. That could be a telltale sign here that things are starting to ramp up once again. Specifically around the Grindavik area, a handful of smaller quakes, but as I mentioned before in my videos, we got to watch these rift zones north, way up here north of Iceland, and south here of Iceland. And that is key to seeing a further push of magma from below, increasing the activity out here. And most of this earthquake activity is underneath the town of Grindavik. So we'll continue to watch that. I think we still are going to see areas south see eruptive fissure activity. The latest wording, though, if you look on the Icelandic news agency site here, is stating that they believe the eruptive activity will be in this Zone 3 area, which puts it north of Grindavik in the regions that already seen eruptive fissure activity. But I don't think so. If anything, I think it's going to head south. We've seen this main region up here back in January open up, and then we've seen a little fissure just north of town open up. That tells me right there that things are migrating southward. And we had already seen magma rolling around underneath the town, moving around. I shouldn't say rolling around, but moving around. And it just kind of makes sense here with all the elevated activity in terms of inflation that would continue southward. But right now they don't really have Grindavik directly in the eruptive fissure zone, which is Zone 3 up here. Let's check out the 8-hour run times here from the website here that monitors all the data. I'm looking for Grindavik, which is right here. Here's the station that got ran over from by the lava. Actually went offline. I believe this is the one that went offline. Yeah, that would make sense. I think that was the one that went offline. But here's one that is functionable, operating normal, I believe. Still elevated. I know it looks like maybe one little runtime down, but we're still elevated in terms of inflation out there at a high level. So I still think it's just a matter of time before we see some further eruptive fissure activity around or in the town of Grindavik. Basing this on information that I've seen, information that I know, and these charts out here. So we'll continue to watch that. Some further activity there across Hawaii. I don't know these guys. All right, guys, it's all done. Time to wrap it up. Nothing to see here. I don't know. It almost seems like they're just trying to brush this off real quick. There's nothing going on, folks. Don't look at it. But look at this earthquake activity, newer movement offshore here. I mean, something's going on. That's not normal. Let's see what we got. Has anything been reviewed? Automatic. It is Saturday. The USGS probably going to take a minute. This one here is just, I don't know. It hasn't even said if it's been reviewed. Oh, reviewed right here. So it looks like this is the one that's going to hold the 4-pointer. A few folks did report feeling it there around Eureka. I'm guessing the other one will probably be removed, which is at 4.7. But this one's even more concerning because look where it's at. 26 kilometers into the Cascadia megathrust area, the southern segment. Keep an eye on that. All right, South America, looks like I'm not seeing anything major going on here. Just a couple 4s out there, very typical. Let's check out space weather real quick, and then we'll jump into the weather outlook because things look quite wet in my neck of the woods here. I'm getting stuff ready, making sure I got plenty of fuel for my generator. I have a feeling power is going to go down, which means the stream will go down. But I got to make sure everything's taken care of here throughout the day before the storm comes. It's supposed to be later tonight, and then all day tomorrow. Space weather, currently flaring with a C2.3, it looks like. Getting a little bit of crackling and popping going on here from a couple different sunspots. Notice this little cracking, popping sound. No, a visual sound here on the chart, on that X-ray flux chart, indicating some instability going on. I believe that is from a very active region out on the southeastern limb. Barely visible. You can see a little bit of bright feature right there. At least on this UV filter, it looks bright. That is not named yet. It looks like we're getting a little view of it. Look at how massive it is, and you can see a little bit of complexity in here with the different colors. that is where all this static is coming from, so to speak. Although a newer sunspot down here rapidly formed. This was quiet just last night or so. I remember wasn't seeing that. So this one popped up kind of out of the blue. Got to watch that here. This is fairly complex. That's going to be sunspot number 3575. So this one and this large active region here looks to be the potential of some flaring and maybe some large flaring. 99% chance for a C flare, M flare at 40, X flare around 5% chance or so. We'll continue to watch those as they some are facing the Earth, and some will be here in the days ahead. No major auroras in the forecast. Looks like we may have a G1 class storm as we head into the 5th. I believe that's going to be the 4th UTC time, or maybe the 5th UTC time. We'll check that out a little bit later as we get closer to that date. Weather outlook. Here is the weather outlook. No severe weather right now, but California, look at this out here in the day. On Sunday, when this low pressure comes in, we got a chance of tornado activity, a 2% zone, even some wind damage out here against the central coast. But look at that, 2% zone for tornado activity. That is Salinas, California. It's been a little while since I've seen that. And of course, that is all due to a large pressure, or a large low pressure system getting ready to form. It's currently in its strengthening stage. That's going to combine with some tropical moisture here. A lot of moisture coming up from the south that low is going to tap into, and it's going to bring with it, at least right where I'm at. I like this. I'm right there in the orange, right here in the central or Sacramento Valley here. That's perfect. That's going to bring some good rainfall rates out here, which means that we could see a couple inches of rainfall in a short amount of time. Southern California going to get in on that as well, and we got another little storm after that. But I want to go over some rainfall. Well, let me show you guys the wind real quick. The wind's going to be the other thing. Let's see here. Let's back this off. Okay, so here's the low traveling down, joining with this low pressure system, or the moisture here. And that's going to be aimed right at California. Look at some of these winds up here around 60, 70, 80 miles an hour. Now, this is just a little bit off the ground, but it's still going to be quite windy throughout the Sacramento Valley, San Joaquin Valley, the Bay Area. I guarantee you there's going to be some power outages for sure. That's why I'm getting my generator and everything ready. Going to stock up on, fuel. I got lots of solar lights as well that I use for when the power goes down. So watch this take place here. We're going to put this into motion just a little bit. Going to bring it up. Let's see. Here is 1 a.m. Sunday. Just starting to form off the coast here. Let's bring this in. Look at these wind gusts out here just south of Salinas. 72 mile per hour wind gusts. Almost a hurricane strength winds out here. That's about 4 to 7 a.m. on Sunday. As we head towards the afternoon time period, that low pressure moves in a little bit further inland as well. Not quite as windy up here around Chico where I'm at, or Yuba City, but Sacramento southward is going to get some decent wind gusts out there. And again, here's that big time wind along the central coastline. Lots of population out here that's going to see some big time wind. And of course, as we head throughout the day on Sunday, it doesn't look like I'm going to experience too much wind up here. Let's see what we got here. 30 mile per hour wind gusts. I think we can handle that. But even so, the ground is super soaked, and we haven't really had time for that rainfall that we've been receiving to, kind of dry up a little bit. So we're going to dump another 3 inches of rainfall on this soaked ground, and we could see, just easily 30 mile per hour winds knock over power lines and maybe knock over some trees that are easily able to be pushed over, when the ground is super soaked and we got wind. So you can see that area of circulation right here. So that's the wind. Now rainfall is going to be the other issue here. This is the next 3 days is good. This is the ECMWF model. These guys have been staying wet, but not as aggressive as the GFS model. I'll show you in a little bit. outside Chico area, about 2.5 inches. San Jose area, looks like maybe 5 inches or so. Down here across Salinas area, the Coast Range, about 5 inches. Now, this is a little concerning down here, though, because Los Angeles area is going to be in that fire hose region. And the fire hose area is basically where the frontal boundary is just going to be funneling in moisture right in here as that low pressure system kind of heads up north. And these guys are going to get a nice soaking here outside of the Santa Paula area. Looks like 6 inches of rainfall. Los Angeles area, certain regions will see about 5 inches or so, maybe higher up in the mountains. Over here across the coast, they're showing about 3 inches or so. But this is still a lot of rainfall for this area. Now, if we check out the GFS model, this shows some higher rainfall rates out here across Southern California in certain regions. A little miss out here across this region here. Look at that. Not a whole lot of moisture down in the Bakersfield area. So it'd be interesting to see if this plays out or the ECMWF model. Either way, it looks like there's a rain shadow out here across the San Joaquin Valley. South here, south of Merced, down in the Bakersfield. Up here in the north, outside of Chico, we're still getting, looks like a little bit more aggressive rainfall rates and totals from the GFS model. Either way, it's going to be a wet day tomorrow. And now is the time to be prepared. Because that's a lot of rainfall, hey, at least we're not in a drought, right? Goodness. Let's see, what else is there, folks? Yeah, they just took off that other 4-pointer, so we got this one sitting into the southern end of the Cascadia. This is not a surface fault earthquake. This is down into the subduction zone, 26 kilometers down into this area of the megathrust region. So we'll continue to watch that. Oklahoma just got another earthquake there, it looks like, maybe a little 1.7 in the last couple minutes. So we'll continue to watch it. Things are very elevated out here right now. And it almost seems like it's brewing up to something bigger. I just don't know exactly where yet. All right, folks, have a good day. Enjoy your Saturday. I'm going to be pretty busy here on the side, but I will keep an eye on things. If anything pops off, of course, we'll jump on with an update. Appreciate all the new subscribers jumping on as well. If you're not a subscriber, please hit that subscribe button and also click that notification bell so you can be notified here when we provide live important updates on earthquake activity and volcanic activity, and of course weather activities as well. I may be streaming a little bit tomorrow just to show maybe some of the effects up here in Northern Cal. We're not going to have all the wind up here as what these folks down south are going to have to deal with, but it will be quite wet, and I'm sure there's going to be some more flooding out here. So I will be out tomorrow live streaming from my neck of the woods here just outside of Chico. All right, folks, have a good one. Stay safe. We'll catch you guys back out here later tonight with the Saturday night update. Have a good one.